Welcome to my PowerPoint about common jokers in Balatro. Now this video is going to have over 60 jokers in it, so yeah, I'm gonna probably skip over a couple of the more repetitive ones. Not skip, but go quickly through it. So of course we start with Blue Joker. Blue Joker gives +2 chips per remaining card in your deck. That means if you have 52 cards in your deck, your first hand will make you have 8 cards. So that is 44 cards in your deck. That means Blue Joker will give 88 chips on the first hand of a round with a base size deck. That's not the best, I do have to say. There are definitely way better jokers at giving chips in that scenario, and they are less reliant on basically having to be the first played hand of a round. Because, well, say you discard 5 cards. Okay, that makes it so there's 32 cards in your deck, so there's, what, 64 chips? That's... no, wait, that's not right. Sorry, that's if you discard twice, I mean. Sorry. If you discard once, it will go to, 37? Math? Yeah, 37. So that would be 74, which is not many chips, I do have to say. Speaking of, a joker that doesn't give many chips, it's Banner. Banner, it gives 30 chips per remaining discard. You will have 2 discards in Gold Stake. Yeah, you'll have 3 or 4 technically with red deck, and most other stakes, but that means that you get 90 chips from this joker. If you don't use any of your discards, then it will go to 60, and then it becomes instantly worse than Blue Joker. If you use 1 discard, it becomes worse than Blue Joker. I mean, if you use no discards, technically it's better than Blue Joker, right? Because, like I said, it would be, 80-something and then 90, but it's just not good. I don't like Banner very much. Of course, yeah, if you have, a bunch of Molt, maybe you can make it work, right? If you get really early, like, say you get an Abstract Joker really early, actually, then it could be pretty decent, but, I mean, that's every chip joker can make that argument, right? And this just isn't one of the better chip jokers. I've went over this in my chip joker video. It's just these ones are just not that great, but, Then there's Abstract Joker. Abstract Joker gives +3 Molt per joker. It's actually, really efficient for a common. Gaining 15 Molt from a common, with very little condition is relatively efficient, right? That's what you see from a lot of the other commons, and we'll get to that later in this video. But 15 is pretty much, the golden standard for a common and how much Molt you should be getting from it. And, yeah, I mean, Abstract Joker, it doesn't really have a condition. You just have to have full jokers, which you want to be doing anyway, so yeah, not really a condition. Of course, it is going to start a little weaker, right? If it's your first joker, it'll only give you 3, but again, it's solid, very solid, and I mean, you like picking this up early, of course. Then there's 8 Ball. 8 Ball has a 1 in 4 chance to make a tarot card when an 8 is scored. That's inconsistent. It makes it so you have to play with a bunch of 8s. Which you can do, right? Things like Fibonacci work, straights kind of work with aces. Usually if you're playing a straight build, an 8 will be scored almost always, right? Unless you're intentionally going for ace highs or ace lows, 8 is going to be what gets scored almost always in a straight hand. So, while it can be decent there, I mean, 1 in 4 chance, it's just... that's bad. It's too inconsistent, and you're getting 1 tarot card. It's just so weak. Space Joker has a 1 in 4 chance, and people already joke about how that's really hard to get, and you get a better reward. I think a level in a poker hand with no condition is pretty much is pretty often better than a random tarot card. Of course, most half of the tarot cards are kind of bad or very situational or don't have a use for you, so a random tarot card is just not that great in my opinion. I really just think 8 Ball is pretty bad. Then we have Gross Michael, Gross Michelle, and Cavendish. Gross Michelle, of course, this has a +15 Molt, which I already talked about, is pretty standard, pretty solid amount of Molt that it gives you, and then a 1 in 6 chance to be destroyed. Once destroyed, you can then have Cavendish appear in your shop. Cavendish gives ×3 Molt and has a 1 in 1,000 chance of being destroyed. This is amazing. Bananas are really strong. I mean, Gross Michelle, it's already pretty solid. One of the best commons just in general, just flat plus 15 molt. That's pretty good for a lot of commons. But then the fact that it has this scaling condition, right? Eventually you will find a Cavendish. That makes it really good. I think this is like arguably one of the best commons. These are effectively tied together, right? I know they are technically two different commons, but you can't get Cavendish if you didn't have Gross Michael already. So yeah, I think they're both amazing. I think that like if you do find a Gross Michelle and you don't have like either something better or like more synergy between something else, it's just always a good pickup because Cavendish is just 3 times 3 molt, and then it's really not. Yeah, you can technically lose it, but dude, you're not gonna. The odds are incredibly unlikely, and it's not like it's not even like a high enough odds to be worried about, in my opinion. If you have oops all 6s, I mean, dude, 1 in 500 chance. Ooh, you're definitely that lucky. Then there's Chaos the Clown, which gives you 1 free reroll in the shop. This is actually really nice. Ironically, Chaos is actually better when you buy it later in the rolls, because it will make it so your next reroll always costs 0, no matter how much it costs. So what happens is sometimes you'll just be rolling, you'll pick up Chaos and like, hey man, it costs $4 to get, it'll give you $2 back, and then it makes it so my like set or like 9 cost roll or higher or something costs 0. So effectively that, I mean, you save $9, you spent $4, and you get $2 back. So $7 of net. That's actually pretty good. Chaos, it doesn't do anything for scoring. It doesn't really get you that much money. 1 free reroll can actually be quite good just to have in general, but it's not in the a sense of like, oh, I need to keep this. It's in the, oh, I have space, I would like to keep it kind of tier, which a lot of jokers fall into, and I don't even think it's one of the best of those. It's a luxury, to say the least, and like, it's not the best luxury, in my opinion. It's nice, I like finding it when I am in those scenarios where I'm doing a lot of rolling, but that's about it. I wish they would change it in some way, even if it were just as simple as like, your rolls cost 1 or 2 less, it would already be really powerful. Then there's a business card, Joseph J. Joker. It has a 1 in 2 chance of giving $2 when a face card is scored. This, of course, oops all 6s. I always talk about that Joker. Oops all 6s makes this 100% chance, which, with re-triggers like Photograph and Hanging Chad, sorry, not Photograph, Photo Chad is what I was thinking, then it can be really good. I think that business card, I think more often than not, you are happy with picking it up, as long as you're playing face cards in your build in some way. For damage, it's not, for damage, for money, gosh, I'm losing it. For money, it's just pretty solid. It's not one of the best options, but I think as long as you're playing, it's technically as long as you're playing 4 face cards, or at least triggering face cards over and over again, it does match up with Golden Joker, right? And Golden Joker, we'll get to it later, it is, the baseline of how you consider money in this game, right? If something is giving you an equivalent amount of money to Golden Joker, then typically it's still going to be good, right? Business card is usually giving you equivalent money to Golden Joker, and I think that alone makes it so you're happy with it. And then there's so many ways to synergize with it that I think that it pushes it a little bit above Golden Joker, in my opinion. Then there's credit card. So credit card can put you up to $20 in debt, and usually almost more often than not, that's actually quite bad, right? If you're going in debt, that means you're not collecting interest. I get that you maybe have like an explosive turn, right? But yeah, then you have to pay it off for your next few turns. And if you needed one explosive turn to win, typically you were in a situation where, that's bad. This is a really hard to quantify stat, what going into debt lets you do, because it allows for one very powerful turn. And a lot of runs don't need one very powerful turn. They need consistent turns because they need to scale, right? But one very powerful turn is like when you have like a big transition, right? Or you're in a situation where you're losing and you're like, dude, I need anything to start winning. And those runs, you know, those runs still need money, is the thing. And it feels like this is a card that makes it so you're less likely to lose, but it doesn't really feel like it's helping you win in any way. And, well, if you... No offense, but if you play better, then you're already less likely to lose. And if you know scenarios where you're like, oh, wait, I'm going to lose anyway, then it doesn't really help. There are genuine, real scenarios in this game that you have an unwinnable run. Sometimes it's not that often, right? But sometimes it can just happen. There are also some times where just, hey guys, it's a card game. It has 52 cards in a deck, and sometimes you just get unlucky, right? And preventing the times you get unlucky by taking better lines and doing things is better than getting into that scenario in the first place and then needing something to bail you out. And that's kind of how I feel about credit card. That being said, I do have to point this out though. If you're going up against the Aux boss blind, the credit card is very good though, because it will reset your debt instantly. So if you are going up against the Aux and you're already going to lose your money anyway, then you might as well do this. That is a very solid, good scenario for it, but otherwise it's just like, dude, if you have money, that's better than being in debt. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my understanding of it is wrong, but I think that's... God, I just don't think it's good, right? That's also the part of it. I just think it's bad. Okay, so we got a lot of these played in hand jokers. There's a lot of them in this video because they're all common. I think they're pretty bad. I think that most of them are bad to have past like ante 1 or 1, 2, 3. I think that if you do have them, you probably have been offered something better, or you're just really, really unlikely. That's my takeaway on these. I think that they're just here to be filler, to make the pool worse, so that the game is more fun when you do find the good jokers. And of course, that is, a part of game design that does exist. Now I'm going to get back into this. There's Crazy Joker, Crafty Joker, and Clever Joker. Of course, in order. Crazy gives plus 12 bolt if played hand contains a straight. Crafty gives plus 80 chips if contained hand is a flush. And 80 chips from Clever Joker if played hand contains a 2 pair. These are pretty bad. They're solid. They're not the worst on antes 1, 2, and 3. I do have to admit, but they get consistently outscaled by almost every joker in the entire game, because sometimes poker hands don't matter, and other times most jokers just give more. So yeah, they're pretty bad. I do understand why these need to exist, but it doesn't make them any better. Then we have Drunkard. Drunkard gives plus 1 discard. This is very powerful with any joker that can do anything with discarding. It's nice for purple seals. I mean, it also helps you get straights easier, right? I love it, personally. People are going to argue with me about discards versus hands in the comments. Guys, I'm just like, dude, who cares? It's such a marginal difference that makes absolutely doesn't do anything at all. There's no noticeable difference. Realistically, there's no realistic difference between playing a hand in a discard, aside from if you have jokers that benefit it. So on their own, there is no difference. However, there is no situation in the entire game where you can be offered a way to get an extra hand or discard at the same time. And what do I mean by this? Well, look, Drunkard gives you plus 1 discard. However, Juggler, which is the counterpart, doesn't give you plus 1 hand. It gives you plus 1 hand size. The only way to gain permanent plus hands and plus discards are vouchers. And, well, let's look at it this way. Can you have 2 vouchers in the same shop at the same time? Yeah, you could with, a tag, but they'll both last for the same time. It's not making a decision one or the other. So when I say I like discards, that's just a preference thing. I don't think people get it. I can make up whatever stupid reason I want because it's funny, but guys, you don't understand. There's no actual applicable difference between hands and discards that do not include other jokers, and then that changes the argument entirely, right? Who cares if you're playing one hand? If you're discarding all the way down to save you one hand, that's exactly the same as playing one hand to save you one hand. Like, guys, it's obviously a fucking joke. Holy shit, why do I keep getting these... I keep getting the same comment about it. I'm like, guys, I'm obviously making a jump. I'm obviously messing around. I keep applying the same thing. It keeps happening. I keep pushing it. I'm like, yeah, this is... Haha, it's funny. I like this card. Guys, what? Sorry, I had to do a little thing about that, because it's getting out of control, what people are saying. I'm not going to lie. Like, people are insulting me over it. I'm like, dude, what? Anyway, so we get to Droll Joker. Gives plus 10 molt if played hand contains a flush. Yeah, there's so many better jokers that deal with flushes. There's so many better ones. Even as commons, there are better ones. So don't take these unless you desperately need it, right? In the early rounds. Same with Devious Joker, 100 chips if played hand contains a straight. Again, so many jokers that deal with straights. So many of them scale, etc. And then there's Delayed Gratification. Oh my gosh. Delayed Gratification gives $2 per discard if no discard was used. This is very potent when, I mean, drunkards right there. But when you talk about jokers that want you to play more hands than discard, right? So, of course, there's obvious examples like Green Joker, where it gives you plus one hand compared to, or not plus one hand, sorry, plus one molt every time you play a hand, and then minus one molt whenever you play a discard. But, like, Delayed Gratification is just super powerful. It gets you a lot of money. If you're getting a lot of your scoring based on your jokers rather than your poker hand, right? So you're playing multiple hands, or like for high cards, Green Joker, etc. Or you're getting all your scoring from like Photo Chad, right? That's gonna get all your scoring. Or you have just like, I don't even know. You have a lot of times molt, right? Things like that, right? Rather than getting it from your poker hand, so it doesn't matter what you're playing as often, then Delayed Gratification is a lot stronger. I have to admit something, guys. I said Green Joker, and I was like, wait a minute, where is it? It's not on my slides. I have to make a whole slide just for Green Joker, because for some reason, I somehow forgot to put it on here, and that's really, really funny, so I'm going to do that next. I just completely didn't put Green Joker on my slides. That's really funny. So here he is. Green Joker gives plus one molt per hand played and minus one molt per discard. This works well with Delayed Gratification, I said before, or Burglar, which gives you plus three hands and removes all your discards. It also works well with ones like, say Obelisk or pair builds or high card builds. Ones you're playing a lot of hands just score. There's also ones like Wii Joker, or Runner. Any kind of Joker that needs to be ramped loves cards that benefit playing multiple hands, right? And well, Wii Joker, it's also a card that needs to be ramped, so that's why it synergizes well with these cards. Wii and Green can do some pretty good stuff together. If you have a deck that's built around playing a lot of twos, then you won't be discarding that much. And if you're not discarding that much, hey, scaling molt, no matter how big, plus scaling chips is really, really strong. Like, one of my favorite builds of all time is Blueprint, Green Joker, Wii Joker, Burglar, and before I got the Burglar, I had Trading Card, and I pared down my deck. I shaved down my deck, I set it up, and I had like 22s, and that was my full deck, and it was so nice. I finally picked up a hack near the end. It was so awesome. It was such a fun build, and that's like one of my favorite builds of all time. That's why I love Green Joker and Wii Joker, and like it's just awesome. It's just cool, guys. Okay, moving on. Then we have Fortune Teller. Fortune Teller gives plus one molt per tarot used this run. This is like actually pretty respectable amount of flat molt. Of course, it can pretty easily hit that plus 15 threshold that I've been talking about for being good for common jokers. And 15 tarot cards, yeah, it's expensive. It's definitely very expensive. But if you're playing any way of generating tarot cards, like Purple Seals, or I guess technically 8-Ball, or more realistically probably Super Precision, then you can get, this pretty good. And then, hey, it keeps scaling. You'll have runs where you'll find this in the shop. You haven't even thought about it, and you're like, dude, this is gonna be 40 molt for a common. That's insane. Like, the condition is not very high. Yeah, it takes a little while to get going, especially in comparison to, say, Banana or Supernova, or so many other things, right? But it's just good. It's pretty solid. I think that I take Fortune Teller pretty often personally. Then there's Faceless Joker. It gives you $5 if you discard 3 face cards at once. This can be really good with Pareidolia. I've said this before, but I don't think it's one of the best money options. While, yeah, with Pareidolia, it's definitely pretty good. But that means that you have to have another Joker to support it. And for what it's giving you, that's not good enough when something like Mail-in Rebate does the exact same thing, significantly easier. Yeah, Mail-in Rebate, sometimes you can get screwed over by RNG, right? But that you could just get screwed over by RNG with Faceless Joker, and then Mail-in Rebate is way more consistent. So, yeah, I don't think Faceless Joker is that great, and for basically doing the same thing as Mail-in Rebate, it's just really bad. Then there's Even Steven. Even Steven gives +4 molt when scored card is even. This is like pretty solid. Not much to say. You can get +20 molt from it. That's actually quite good. Again, for a common, getting 15 or more molt is very strong in my opinion. And when you're getting these in the early game, which is typically when you're getting commons, that's where it's best, right? So Even Steven, it can be pretty nice. It's actually really funny with shortcut straight builds because you can you could do 10 8 6 for 10 8 6 4 2, and that's a full even hand as a straight, and get you get a straight with +20 volt. That's great. It's better than that one straight. It's better than the one straight base Joker. I don't even remember what they're called, dude. Then there's Egg. Egg gains +3 sell value at the end of each round. Dude, Swashbuckler so OP, dude. Egg. This can be good, right? Of course, I mean, it's only slightly worse than, say, Golden Joker, but this gives you money in a bigger burst, which, yeah, that can be quite nice. Especially when you consider, yeah, Swashbuckler, but Temperance. Temperance works incredibly well with Egg, and this can be a great way to get money in the early to mid game, like, if you just get a moderate high roll. I've had times where I'll find Temperance and Egg in the same shop, and I will just hold the Temperance for, like, 4 rounds, and, like, dang, dude, that gave me a bunch of money. It was worth it. You sell the Egg at the same time, you make so much money off of it, and you can do basically anything with that much money in the mid game, and it's really, really powerful. I think Egg is kind of slept on because it's also a meme, right? Oh, I got Eternal Rental Egg, like, but it's definitely a fun Joker to play with if you do get in the right scenarios. Okay, so these are the flush-based Jokers for the commons, right? Greedy gives +3 molt when a diamond is scored. Lusty gives +3 molt when a heart is scored. Wrathful gives +3 molt when a spade is scored. And then Gluttonous gives +3 molt when a club is scored. These are not that bad, right? They give +15 molt, which I already said is pretty decent. And, again, everyone knows that flushes are the easiest way to get 5 cards, so they aren't given that much scaling, which technically means that like getting a bigger flat number from these is pretty good, especially when you consider retriggers, right? Hanging Chad, Sock and Buskin, any kind of retrigger, right? These will give you more molt from this, and like that can be good, but they basically only work 1/4 of the time, right? Outside of like Checker Deck, which also makes it so only 2 of them even do anything, but they're fine, right? Of course, they are some of the only Jokers that get completely turned off by bosses because, well, there's bosses that turn off all of these suits. So, yeah, there are some Jokers that, like, I mean, when I say that, it's like, well, if you go for one of these, you're kind of just screwed 1/4 of the time, is what I meant by that, and like that can be a lot to deal with. All right. So then there's Golden Ticket. Golden Ticket gives $4 whenever a gold card is scored. This works amazingly with like Midas Mask or of course retriggers, and like as long as you don't really need enhanced cards to be scoring, you can have more golden cards. And if you have more golden cards, you can get more money. If you have more money, money talks. I like playing with Golden Ticket. It's actually really fun to play with Midas Mask. I had a build, it was Golden Ticket Midas Mask, and then I picked up a Vampire Mask, and I was like, dude, my entire deck is golden. That's so much ramping. And it's so fun to play with. Sorry, Pareidolia is also in there, if anyone was wondering, because that's how you make your entire deck golden. Then there's Golden Joker. Golden Joker gives $4 the end of round. This is like the golden standard on how like money Jokers should work. If they're giving you more than Golden Joker, like in a round, it's good. If they're giving you less, hey, that's not that great. Golden Joker, it's consistent. It has no condition at all. It just gives you money, and it gives you a good amount of money. $4 extra at every round is really nice. That like basically makes up for the money lost from the small blind, and makes it like, so skipping is even worse because of, well, end of round stuff. But I mean, is there anything more you need to say about Golden Joker? It's solid. It's the baseline of like money jokers. It's just really nice. And then there's Hallucination, which has a 1 in 2 chance to give a tarot card when you open a pack. That's fine. A lot of times what people do is, like, if Hallucination's in their shop and there's 2 packs, they'll typically buy Hallucination, both buy or open 2 packs, and then, hey, if you don't want Hallucination anymore, just sell it. It can provide a decent amount of value for not much of a cost, because I mean, opening packs is good. You want to be doing it. Oops All Sixes makes it like always work, which is really nice. It's just a solid one. I'm not the biggest fan of it because I'm super unlucky and I never hit, but that's a me thing. And then there is Half Joker. Half Joker gives plus 20 mult if played hand has less than 3 cards. While this can be good, having less than 3 cards means that you can't get, better poker hands, and not having better poker hands can be quite hard to deal with. Of course, there's always ways to play around that, right? If you get better synergy, or if you have better jokers, that you can get, a work around this, but it's not giving you that much for a pretty steep condition that doesn't work with a lot of builds. And it's just, yeah. Part of the thing is, too, is that, like, even if you are playing a 3 of a kind, you want to typically be playing 2 other cards to get them out of your hand. So Half Joker just kind of like hurts deck cycling, which is not the greatest thing you want there. And then there's Hanging Chad and Photograph. This entire slide is dedicated to these cards, by the way. So Hanging Chad re-triggers the first scoring card twice. This works amazingly with every on-score joker in the entire game, right? There are very few that you wouldn't want to do this with, I guess. Like, I don't even know. I can't even think of one where you wouldn't, to be honest. Of course, I could be wrong, so I'm kind of like being a little vague there, but it's just so strong. And in conjunction with Photograph, Photograph gives times 2 mult on the first scoring face card. This is increased to times 8 mult when you have Hanging Chad, because, well, it's times 2, times 2, times 2, which is times 8. That's really good. Even if you only have, like, high card, as long as you have some levels in it, this goes crazy. That's before you include Scary Face. Scary Face gives plus 30 chips per scoring face card. This isn't the best Joker of all time, right? But it does work well with these in, like, situations. Of course, it's one of those Jokers that you'd probably replace if you found something better, but the synergy is definitely undeniable. And, well, it's 90 chips off a ballot. That's pretty good. Then there's Smiley Face. Smiley Face is a little better than Scary Face, in my opinion, because of the fact that that is getting multiplied by Photograph. It gives plus 5 mult per scoring face card. So it's plus 15. Well, it'll be plus 5, and then it gets times 2, plus 5 times 2, plus 5 times 2. I'm not even gonna... I don't know. So you have... yeah, but to do that, of course, you have to place the Smiley Face to the left of the photo card, just for anyone wondering. But, yeah, I mean, that's good. What else is there to say? They clearly synergize with the Photograph Hanging Chad combo, and although there are better things, they're just solid. There's no reason to not take them. You're pretty happy even if you find them. And that doesn't mean that, like, they're exclusive to these combos, right? If you're playing like 4 of a kind, 5 of a kind, even 3 of a kind, or straights or flushes, you can make some pretty decent use out of these. Like, they're just solid. There's not really anything else to say. Then there's, I keep saying, and then there's, someone commented that recently, and I've been struggling to think of something else to say. Up next, there's Juggler. Juggler gives plus 1 hand size. Just like Drunkard, this makes getting straights significantly easier, and, I mean, who doesn't like hand size, right? If you're playing checker deck and you have 9 hand size, right, so just plus 1 hand size, then it's guaranteed to get a flush. That's actually like a good stat, right? That makes that deck way better to get plus 1 hand size. So getting a flush guaranteed I mean, sometimes, you know, you get to save hands. You get to save discards, depending on what you're doing. And I guess technically it's not guaranteed to even get a flush if you have eight cards, right? Yeah, it's likely, but it's not guaranteed like it is with 9. Then we have... I keep saying then. Then we have Jolly Joker. It gives +8 molt if played hand contains a straight. That's not Jolly... What? Jolly Joker doesn't do that. It's if it contains a pair. Oh my gosh, I wrote the wrong thing down. My bad, guys. It's not good. If you play Cryptid, though, you know that Jolly Joker's all... Cryptid has like a billion Jolly Joker synergies. So stupid. It doesn't even... They're not even like really pair synergies. They're with Jolly Joker, and it's really goofy. Then there's Joker, or Jimbo, as a lot of people know him, who gives +4 molt. This is literally the tutorial Joker. Like actually, it just is the tutorial Joker. It's really funny that it's in the main game. I'm not gonna lie. Lastly, we have Ice Cream, which gives 100 chips and loses 5 per hand played. I don't like Ice Cream very much. It can be powerful in select scenarios, and, you know, sometimes just getting +100 chips can be really strong, like if you have crazy high molt, but I'm not a big fan of it. I don't like the fact that I mean, obviously it's how it's designed, but it's not fun to play with a card that's going to get weaker the longer you have it, and then, like, you can only really hold it for, like, 4 hands before it becomes actually bad. Like, once it gets to, like, 80, 70, it's just actually bad, and that's pretty not worth taking. It's so funny every time I see someone get, like, Polychrome tag, hit it on Ice Cream. That's that makes me go crazy how funny that is, personally. Okay, and then we have... Next, there's Mystic Summit. It gives +15 molt if you have 0 discards remaining. This is like standard stuff for a common Joker. It doesn't have that hard of a condition, solid pickup in the early game, and while, yeah, there is some counter synergy with freaking delayed gratification or burglar, it's not like there's many Jokers that have any problem with it, right? It's easy to use and not much more. Misprint and I'm sorry, guys. I have to admit something. This video is going to be really long, and I'm tired from being in class all day. So I have to say this, okay, because I keep stuttering, and I feel bad. Misprint gives anywhere between 0 and 23 molt randomly. This averages out to about 11.5, which does put it below the 15 threshold for a lot of commons, but, like, still getting 11.5 molt for... you know, average hand is pretty decent. There's not really anything to say. It's technically still has a condition, right? Because it's random, but it's not one you can control. So it's not like there's much that goes into it. Sometimes you just get unlucky with a misprint. And then there's mail-in rebate, which gives $5 whenever you discard the displayed card. This is easily one of the best, like, money generators in the entire game. It's really consistent. If you say you hit 10s, right, you're pretty likely to hit at least 110 in an 8 hand, then you discard 5 cards, you're pretty likely to hit at least 110. Like, even if you are just playing, you know, hands out, it's technically efficient to play one hand to get one card for your mail-in rebate, right? Because one hand is $1, but mail-in rebate is $5. It's just really strong. And then, like, if you set your deck up for it, it becomes insane with deck fixing, right? Because it becomes less likely to pick cards that you have less of, and you can't get cards that you don't have, right? So if you have, you know, 99, say you have 99 aces and 1 2, you're gonna get aces basically every time, which, you know, makes mail-in rebate a lot of money. Yeah, when you get to that stage, well, you're discarding 5 cards, you get $25 per discard. That's insane. That's a great amount of money. Lastly, there's Mad Joker. It gives +10 molt if played hand contains 2 pair. Yup. I mean, I think this one is actually one of the better ones of these kind of Jokers, in my opinion, because a 2 pair gives 40 times 2, I think, or is it 40 times 4? So getting +10 to that is actually pretty significant. A lot more significant than getting, like, +12 to... I don't even know, man. Like, to straight, I guess. It's not really. It's just so dumb. Like, they're just so bad. Then there's Odd Todd. Odd Todd gives 31 chips per scoring odd card. That means if you have 5 of them, it's 155 plus chips. That's a lot of chips. Any retrigger, of course, adds Odd Todd on top of it. That's just good. Like, Odd Todd's really, really solid in the early game. Not really like a hard sell. Just solid. It's hard to get all odd cards right. You'd have to do either a flush or, like I said with Even Steven, you would play shortcut to get it, but or I guess of course you could play like 5 of a kind, etc. But if you're by the time you're playing 5 of a kind, Odd Todd's kind of useless. And there's Red Card, which gives +3 molt per skip booster pack. This is actually really strong in like higher stakes, like especially gold stake, when you have 3 negative stickers. If you're opening a Buffoon pack, which you're gonna do pretty often, then sometimes you're fine skipping it because there's a bunch of bad stickers, right? You get Eternal Rental Egg or Perishable. Actually, you can't get Perishable Runner, which is gonna say Perishable something, right? And you're like, well, is that actually better than just getting +3 molt? And a lot of the time, it's really not. Then, like, you actually should be skipping spectral packs a lot of the time. More often than not, spectral packs actually give you nothing, right? And you're clicking it hoping to get something good, but it really, like, very rarely helps you. Then, you know, Red Card's better there. Tarot or planet packs, yeah, you know, sometimes they'll give you useless stuff. If you have Telescope, they won't anymore, but you're going to be skipping a lot of those too sometimes. And then, well, tarot packs are not really any better. There's a lot of tarot cards that just don't really do anything or help you in any way. And, like, yeah, dude, I could make a card a wild card, or I could just get +3 molt. And +3 molt is a more tangible, instant helping effect versus wild card. Okay, what am I wild carding? Is it going to do anything? Am I playing a flush build? Am I going to transition into flush 5 with this freaking wild card, right? Like, or any of the suit changers are like that, and like Judgment is useless in a lot of scenarios. I mean, Empress is pretty useless in a lot of scenarios, like, right? So there are a lot of times where you could get a full tarot pack that just has nothing you want in it, and +3 molt is better than nothing useful. Raise Fist adds double the value of the lowest number card in your hand to your molt. This is, like, actually pretty good if you're holding face cards, as +20 molt is pretty good for the early game, but, like, you're not doing that consistently. If you do have Mine, it will go off twice, so there is some synergy there, but yikes. Raise Fist is just not that, it's just not that good, I do have to admit. Yeah, there are scenarios when it can be really strong, you know, for a common card, but guys, come on. Every card has those scenarios where it's really good for, like, for whatever reason. But consistency is very powerful, and Raise Fist does not have that. Lastly, we have Popcorn. Popcorn gives +20 molt and loses 4 per played hand. Jeez. Yikes. I mean, I already talked about Ice Cream. It loses 5, which is 5%. Popcorn loses 20% of its value every hand played. Or it might be every round, actually, not hand played. I might have written that wrong. But it's just not good. It's so mid. Like, Popcorn and Ice Cream are just pretty bad, in my opinion. I've actively only ever gotten them from Judgment or from, like, a Buffoon pack, and I don't have anything, like, and I don't want to pick up an Eternal or something. It's the only time I've ever taken them. I'm so serious. It's just not worth it. Like, the amount of effective time that they get to do anything is just actually worse than a Perishable Joker, which is saying a lot. But the Perishable Joker you have can be a good Joker, and these ones aren't good. So, yeah. Next, we have Runner. Runner gains +15 chips whenever a straight is scored. I love Runner. I talk about it all the time. It's a great way to get, you know, scaling chips, because a lot of the time chips aren't that good, but straights scale amazingly, right? They have one of the best planet cards in Saturn, and, like, getting Runner can be really, really nice. If you just get a little bit of molt, Runner goes crazy. And straights, I mean, they're pretty common. Pretty often people are playing straight builds. I think straight builds might be the most common, if I had to say. Maybe flushes are the most maybe, but the straight builds are very, very common. I see people playing them all the time. I always hear about people talking about their straight builds. It's just nice, and Runner does great. It's also Direction. Direction is one of the most powerful things of this game, because it tells you, hey, now you go for stuff like this, and that is a really good way to play the game. Riffraff creates 2 random jokers when a blind is selected. This is really strong. Now, a lot of people don't understand Riffraff, I think is how I have to say this. Like, it can get you 2 good common jokers, right? But that's not really why you're playing it. You're not looking for just okay to solid common jokers if you are playing with Riffraff. You're looking for really good ones, and then otherwise you're selling it. And by selling it, you're actually making a lot of money. Riffraff is a good way of getting money. I know I actually should have put this in my economy joker video. I don't really know why I didn't. I don't know why I didn't. But yeah, so yeah, you can get a lot of good jokers. So I'm talking about a lot of good jokers in this video. But you could also just sell them for like $2, and that's good amount of money. They do get to help you score, right? If you get them in the round, or they do let you scale if you get them in the round, and then you sell them for something better, or likely you keep the really good ones and then sell the bad one and then keep going. But you know what I mean. Ride the Bus gains +1 molt per consecutive hand played without playing a face card. This is like, this is the card of all time, a joker of all time. I don't think it's that amazing. I mean, it's fine. It's objectively a solid card. It's actively about as good as Green Joker. I just, like, never get this at good points, I think. I think this is, like, a completely biased take. I just never get it at good points. And, like, it feels like every single time I have this, when I would need it, is when I am playing a face card build, or have face cards that are necessary for my build. And it's like, damn, dude. Face cards are very commonly what people buff in this game when they like are just like, okay, well, I kind of have a lucky card. What should I buff? Do I choose between a 2 of clubs or a king of clubs? Well, the king scores more, so I'm going to choose the king, right? That's like the thought process for a lot of people, which makes it so, well, unless you get this like really early, you're not going to have thought about it throughout the game. And that's a solid thing, though. Like, usually it is better to be putting it on the kings, queens, and jacks than putting it on 2s, right? Like, usually it just is better. So Ride the Bus kind of has a fundamental problem with like the way that the game works, where while it's a fine card, you're conditioned by basically every other thing in the game to prioritize having face cards, which makes it so unless you get Ride the Bus really early to tell you, hey, don't do that, you're going to have done it. And it's just like, well, damn, that makes it kind of not that great. I mean, it's still decent, right? It's about as good as Green Joker, in my opinion, but, like, there's a cognitive problem with the card, and that's not really the card's fault. It's just the game, how the game's designed. Then there's Reserve Parking. Reserve Parking has a 1 in 2 chance to give $1 per held face card. Guys, look. It's a card that cares about having a lot of face cards. After we just got done talking about Ride the Bus. You see what I mean? Like, Reserve Parking's pretty solid. It's a very solid card. You know, if you have like hand re-triggers, or if you have Oops All Sixes, gosh, it's everywhere. It's in my brain, dude. If you have Oops All Sixes, then you can get a pretty good amount of money from it. And like holding a good amount of face cards can be pretty easy if you have a lot of face cards. You can get a good amount of money from it. I've seen runs where people generate upwards of like $50 from Reserve Parking because they have so many face cards in like good scenarios, even mid-game scenarios, and it's just nice. It's just solid. Sly Joker gives 50 chips when played hand contains a pair. It's whatever, I guess. I mean, pairs are like 20 times 2 or something, so I don't even know, really. I don't know. It's just, dude, why? Shoot the Moon. Shoot the Moon gives +13 molt per held queen. This is actually, like, really strong in the early to mid game, but, like, ironically, about the time you can do your best deck fixing to get more queens is when, well, Shoot the Moon is actually kind of bad. It just doesn't scale well enough. And that's actually really funny that it does that, in my opinion. Like, of course, like, Mime helps, Steel cards help, etc., but it's just, like, a little bit too weak to be used in the late game, in my opinion. I don't know what you would do to fix it without, like, number changes, but, like, that wouldn't really solve any problems, in my opinion, without making it too good in the early game. So, it can be good. If you, for whatever reason, have a lot of queens really early on, erratic deck, It can be really good there, but like, gosh, dude, it's just an unfortunate Joker that's built weirdly. Scholar gives plus 20 chips and plus 4 mult when ace is scored. This is just straight up solid. It's better than Walkie Talkie, and Walkie Talkie is already a pretty good Joker. You get 20 mult and 100 chips from Scholar, and the same thing if you play 5 aces, and like that can be really good. Retriggers make it pretty good. Just solid early to mid game Joker. Doesn't have anything else to be said about it personally. Aces are good. You know, again, I was talking about people who like to put their enhanced cards on high scoring cards, like so aces typically get scored, and there's other ways to synergize with aces. They have like Fibonacci value. There's a lot of things that aces can do. They can have more straights than like most other cards. It's just good cards. I don't know, like a lot of Jokers are just solid, guys. I have to admit it. A lot of Jokers are just pretty decent, and this is one of them. Splash makes it so all played cards count in scoring regardless of poker hand. This can actually go really good with things like, well, Triboulet. Triboulet, sometimes you're not playing a full house. Sometimes playing King, King, Queen, Queen, Jack. 2 pair with an extra card. And, well, hey, Splash just made that score. Obviously, if you have Triboulet, Splash is probably what you're getting replaced with, but but it can do that. Splash is just like, there's a lot of things it can do, but then there's a lot of things that are just better than doing that. And I'm be real, guys, like, it's kind of just one of those cards where you're like, okay, now I picked up Splash. It's nice to have. It's incredibly nice to have, but unless you just like didn't find something better, then it's gonna go. It's not one of those kind of Jokers that you really take into the late game, right? It's just a little goofy. I don't know. It's just kind of really goofy. Okay, so then there's Swashbuckler. Swashbuckler gains mult equal to the sell value of all other Jokers. This can go really well with Egg or a gift card, but yeah, it's not that great. Yeah, it can give that plus 15, and that's what we do talk about a lot, but it doesn't count its own sell value. So if you pick it up, it doesn't really do much. It'll probably give you like plus 4 mult when you pick it up, right? You have to have like more expensive, more powerful Jokers, and guys, I'm gonna be real with you. If you are having powerful Jokers, then you typically replace weak Jokers, and guess what's a weak Joker? Swashbuckler. It gets replaced like instantly. Just not useful. It's very rarely is it even just an abstract Joker is also the thing. So it's just like, yeesh. Superposition, it gives a tarot card if played hand contains an ace and a straight. You know, ace highs, ace lows. Not the most common straights in my opinion. You can do them. There's no one ever said you couldn't, but they're not as common as, you know, going for 10 through 5s, because that has a wider range. Although aces can hit kings and 2s, kings can't touch 2s, right? So aces really aren't the best when it comes to straights, in my opinion. That being said, free tarot card, and it's guaranteed. That's nice. It really is. Supernova gives mult equal to the amount of times you played a hit poker hand. This is like actually super hard to make worth, in my opinion, because like you have to play a lot of hands to ramp it, right? But if you are playing a lot of hands to ramp it, Green Joker does exactly the same thing. Same with Ride the Bus. They do exactly the same thing, but they don't just like turn off if you play a different poker hand. Yeah, Ride the Bus turns off if you play a face card. Green Joker doesn't turn off at all, right? It just gets deramped a little bit if you play if you discard. I think that's how I think Ride the Bus should work personally also, but I digress. So Supernova, it's all about playing hands, and a lot of the time when you're playing these builds that want to play a lot of hands, you're not really playing the same hand every time, right? Supernova completely doesn't work with Obelisk, right? Because Supernova implies playing the same hand over and over again. Obelisk wants you to play different hands, right? So that's already one of the routes cut off for like decks that play a lot of hands. You're basically like designated just playing high card over and over and over again. And while that does work, it is playing high card over and over again. And one of the best ways to make high card work is to play Photo Chad. And Photo Chad doesn't care about molt from your jokers. It cares about molt from your poker hand. And Supernova doesn't help your poker hand. It gives itself molt. So you get what I'm saying here, right? Is Supernova, like, on paper, it can actually do stuff, but in practice, it's just not that good. I have to be honest. And then we have Square Joker. Square Joker gives +4 chips if played hand contains exactly 4 cards. Remember what I said about Half Joker, where you want to be playing, you know, as many cards as possible, even if they're not scoring? Yeah. And Half Joker, it has to play 4 cards. So, like, yeah, you could, of course, play, like, 2 pair or play 4 of kind. You can play anything with it, right? So you can play high card and only put 3 cards out instead of 4. You could play just a pair and put 2 extra cards out. You can play 3 of a kind and just put 2 extra cards out. But you can't play the more valuable poker hands. Can't play straights. Can't play 5 of a kind. Can't play full house. Anything like that, right? And then it gives you 4 chips for doing that. It gains 4 permanent chips. Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's a relatively steep condition because you're losing out on an extra on cycling through your deck for +4 chips. You have to play 1-2 to get double that for Wii Joker. And Wii Joker has no condition. Yeah, Wii Jokers are rare. I get it, right? But, like, jeez, dude, this is so ass. Then there's Wily Joker. Wily Joker gives +100 chips if played hand contains a 3 of a kind. Still terrible. Walkie Talkie. Walkie Talkie gives +10 chips and +4 molt when a 10 or a 4 is scored. This can actually be really fun to use. It's worse than Scholar, but you have twice as many hits on it. The seeded Oops All 10 of Spades deck that everyone knows about has a walkie-talkie in the first shop, if I remember correctly. And that is really, really fun to play with. I don't take walkie-talkie that often. It requires a good amount of deck fixing for not that good of an effect. Again, Scholar is just twice as strong, and Scholar's already not that great, like in the late game. It's solid to transition to the mid game, and that's its use, right? Of course, you know, retriggers do help as well, like Hanging Chad or Sock and Buskin, Pareidolia, combo, whatever. To-do list. To-do list gives $4 if played hand matches the specified hand. This can be a really strong source of money if your poker hand doesn't matter and you're just playing whatever. I've spoken about that a lot in this video, so there's a lot of ways that you can do that. And then, lastly, but very certainly one of the least, Zany Joker gives +12 molt if played hand contains a 3 of a kind. Oh my gosh, that's it. That is over 60 jokers and is a 53 as of recording minute video. I'm sorry that this one is a little much. I had to conserve my energy through it. I really did, because I knew it was going to be long. And I've already had a long day. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Tell me down below what's your favorite common joker. I still think mine is probably Runner. Well, no, it's not Runner. It's definitely Hanging Chad Photograph. I even put that as number 2, 3 on my thing. But Runner's awesome. It's definitely Hanging Chad, I think. Photograph maybe is third, like second. It's a little less. I like Hanging Chad more because it's more applicable, personally. Oh, I did it, man. I'm sorry. Okay, if you guys enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. My socials are there on screen or they're in the description. We love talking about Balatro. You can join my Discord if you would like. Everyone talks about Balatro in there. We're talking about Rivals as well with the new thing and Human Torch coming out soon, so you can check in there. But yeah, that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much. Peace out.